Samatha. Samatha Pali or Samatha Sanskrit, Shmth Chinese. Zhaizhou is a Buddhist term that is often translated as the tranquility of the mind or mind-calmness. The Pali Canon describes it as one of two qualities of mind, which is developed bhāvanā in Buddhist meditation, the other being vipassana and sight. Originally, samatha was developed by abiding in the jhanas, but the later Buddhist tradition also reintroduced single-pointed meditation, which includes a variety of mind-calming techniques, as a means to develop calm. Samatha is common to many Buddhist traditions. Etymology. The semantic field of Tibetan shi and Sanskrit shama is pacification, the slowing or cooling down rest. The semantic field of Tibetan ni is to abide or remain, and this is cognate, or equivalent with the final syllable of the Sanskrit, tha. The Tibetan term for samatha is shayin wili, jhanas. According to Jamgon Control, the terms refer to peace and pacification of the mind and the thoughts. Samatha and vipassana. Theravada and the vipassana movement. Function. In modern Theravada, liberation is thought to be attained by insight into the transitory nature of phenomena. This is accomplished by establishing sati mindfulness and samatha through the practice of anapanasati mindfulness of breathing, using mindfulness for observing the impermanence in the bodily and mental changes to gain insight. Vipassana p vipassana, s vipassana, sampajana cq wisdom p panna, s prajna into the true nature of phenomena. According to the Theravada tradition, samatha refers to techniques that assist in calming the mind. Samatha is thought to be developed by samadhi concentration, which is thought to be the ability to rest the attention on a single object of perception. One of the principal techniques for this purpose is mindfulness of breathing Pāli, anapanasati. Samatha is commonly practiced as a prelude to and in conjunction with wisdom practices. According to modern Theravada, mindfulness of breathing leads the practitioner into concentration dhyana, the domain of experience wherein the senses are subdued and the mind abides in uninterrupted concentration upon the object, i.e., the breath, if not in meditative absorption, samadhi. According to modern Theravada, it is the condition for insight vipassana and subsequently the development of liberating wisdom panna. In Theravada Buddhism, morality sila is understood to be a stable foundation upon which to attain samatha. According to the Theravada tradition, samatha and vipassana form an integral part of the Noble Eightfold Path, as described by the Buddha in his court teaching, the Four Noble Truths. Samatha meditation and jhana dhyana are often considered synonymous by modern Theravada, but the four jhanas involve a heightened awareness instead of a narrowing of the mind. Better notes that samadhi may refer to the four stages of dhyana meditation, but that only the first stage refers to strong concentration, from which arise the other stages, which include mindfulness. According to Richard Gombrich, the sequence of the four rupa jhanas describes two different cognitive states. Gombrich and Wynne note that, while the second jhana denotes a state of absorption, in the third and fourth jhana one comes out of this absorption, being mindfully aware of objects while being indifferent to it. According to Gombrich, the later tradition has falsified the jhana by classifying them as the quintessence of the concentrated, calming kind of meditation, ignoring the other and indeed higher element. Alexander Wynne further explains that the dhyana scheme is poorly understood. According to Wynne, words expressing the inculcation of awareness, such as sati, sampajano, and upeka, are mistranslated or understood as particular factors of meditative states, whereas they refer to a particular way of perceiving the sense objects. Through the meditative development of calm abiding, one is able to suppress the obscuring five hindrances: sensual desire, ill will, tiredness and sleepiness, excitement and depression, and doubt. With the suppression of these hindrances, the meditative development of insight yields liberating wisdom. Objects of meditation. Some meditation practices, such as contemplation of a kasana object, favor the development of samatha. Others, such as contemplation of the aggregates, are conducive to the development of vipassana, while others, such as mindfulness of breathing, are classically used for developing both mental qualities. The Visuddhimagga 5th century CE mentions 40 objects of meditation. Mindfulness sati of breathing anapana, anapanasati s, anapanasmiti is the most common samatha practice. Samatha can include other samadhi practices as well. Signs and stages of joy. Theravada Buddhism describes the development of samatha in terms of 3 successive mental images, or signs nimitta, and 5 stages of joy piti. Piti is a feeling of joy, gladness, or rapture arising from the abandonment of the 5 hindrances in favor of concentration on a single object. These stages are outlined by the Theravada Igzigi Buddhaghosa in his Visuddhimagga, also in at Hazelini, and the earlier Upatissa author of the Vimuttimagga. 5 stages of joy. Slight joy kadakapiti raises the hairs of the body. Momentary joy kanakapiti arises momentarily like repeated flashes of lightning. Showering joy akantakapiti washes over the body like waves again and then subsides. Uplifting joy abhigapiti sensations of lifting of the body into the air. Suffusing joy faranapiti pervades the whole body, touching every part, signals access concentration. The 3 nimittas are the preparatory sign, the acquired sign, and the counterpart sign. These are certain mental images, perceptions, or sensations which indicate a further refinement of the state of meditative awareness. Following the establishment of access concentration upakara samadhi, one can enter the 4 jhanas, powerful states of joyful absorption, in which the entire body is pervaded with piti. Variations. In the Theravada tradition, various understandings of samatha exist. In Sri Lanka, samatha includes all the meditations directed at static objects. In Burma, samatha comprises all concentration practices aimed at calming the mind. The Thai forest tradition, deriving from Ajahn Mun and popularized by Ajahn Chah, stresses the inseparability of samatha and vipassana and the essential necessity of both practices. Indo-Tibetan tradition. Tibetan writers usually define samatha practice as when one's mind remains fixed on a single object without moving. Jakpo Tashi Namgyal, for example, defines samatha as by fixing the mind upon any object so as to maintain it without distraction, by focusing the mind on an object and maintaining it in that state until finally it is channeled into one stream of attention and evenness. According to Jesh Lundup Sopa, samatha is just a one-pointedness of mind satagraha on a meditative object alambana, whatever the object may be. If the mind can remain upon its object one-pointedly, spontaneously, and without effort napasamskara, and for as long a period of time as the meditator likes, it is approaching the attainment of meditative stabilization samatha. Mahayana Sutras. A number of Mahayana sutras address samatha, usually in conjunction with vipassana. One of the most prominent, the Cloud of Jewels Sutra Arya Raknainka Sutra, Tib. Fags Padikan Makag Springi MDO, Chinese Baoyanjing 658, Da Cheng Baoyanjing 659, divides all forms of meditation into either samatha or vipassana, defining samatha as single-pointed consciousness and vipassana. The Samatha Sutra is often cited as an important source for samatha instructions by the Kagyu tradition, particularly via commentary by Gampopa, although scholar Andrew Skilton, who has studied the Samatha Sutra extensively, reports that the sutra itself contains no significant exposition of either meditational practices or states of mind. Dhyana. Samatha furthers the right concentration aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. The successful result of samatha is also sometimes characterized as meditative absorption samadhi, ting ingji dizin, and meditative equipoise samahita, amnayam bijag, and freedom from the 5 obstructions of varana, askribpa. It may also result in the siddhis of clairvoyance, abhijna, and ganshas, and magical emanation nirmana, spralpa. Factors in samatha. According to Kuladasa 2015, samatha has 5 characteristics: effortlessly stable attention samadhi, powerful mindfulness sati, joy piti, tranquility passaddhi, and equanimity upekā. The complete state of samatha results from working with stable attention samadhi and mindfulness sati until joy emerges. Joy then gradually 9 mental abidings, 5 faults and 8 antidotes. The textual tradition of Tibetan Buddhism identifies 5 faults and 8 antidotes within the practice of Samatha meditation. The 5 faults identify obstacles to meditation practice, and the 8 antidotes are applied to overcome the 5 faults. This formulation originates with Maitreyanath's Madhyanta Vibhaga and is elaborated upon in further texts, such as the Stages of Meditation Bhavana Krama by Kamalasila. 5 faults. To practice samatha, one must select an object of observation alambana, demigs. Then, one must overcome the 5 faults adinava, nice demigs. 1. Laziness kausadya, lalo. 2. Forgetting the instruction avivada samosa, jidams, and gagbi arjad pa. 3. Laxity laya, buying ba, and excitement auditya, argad pa. Laxity may be coarse audharaka, rags pa, or subtle suksma, framo. Lethargy sthayana, aramugs pa is often also present, but is said to be less common. 4. Non-application anapisamskara, do my bide pa. 5. Over-application of hisamskara, do bide pa. 8 antidotes. The following 8 antidotes, pratipaksa, nyanpo, or applications of hisamskara, do bide pa, can be applied to overcome the 5 faults. For laziness, 1. Faith es rada, dad pa, dad pa, dad pa. 2. Aspiration shanda, dun pa, dun pa. 3. Exertion vyayama, art solba, solba, solba. 4. Pliancy press rati, shin espiangs, for forgetting the instruction. 5. Mindfulness smrti, dranpa, for laxity and excitement. 6. Awareness samprajana, shizbijan, for non-application. 7. Application of hisamskara, do bide pa, for over-application. 8. Non-application anabhisamskara, do my bide pa. 6 powers. 6 powers, bala stabs, are also needed for samatha. 1. Hearing esruta, thospa. 2. Thinking sinta, bisampa, isampa. 3. Mindfulness smrti, dranpa. 4. Awareness samprajana, shizbijan. 5. Effort virya, bhyartsangrus. 6. Familiarity parakaya, yongsu drispa. 4 modes of mental engagement. 4 modes of mental engagement manaskara, yidlabide, are said to be possible. 1. Forcible engagement balavahana, eskrimsti jugpa, jugpa. 2. Interrupted engagement sakadravahana, chadsing jugpa. 3. Uninterrupted engagement nischadravahana, medpar jugpa. 4. Spontaneous engagement anapagavahana, Langrub 2 Jugpa. Mahamudra and Dzogchen. Samatha is approached somewhat differently in the Mahamudra tradition as practiced in the Kedu lineage. As Trailakaya Rinpoche explains, in the practice of Mahamudra tranquility meditation, we treat all thoughts as the same in order to gain sufficient distance and detachment from our current mental state, which will allow us to ease naturally into a state of tranquility without effort or contrivance. In order for the mind to settle, we need to suspend the value judgments that we impose on our mental activities. It is essential. This is an important notion in the Mahamudra tradition, that of non-doing. We do not do tranquility meditation. We allow tranquility to arise of its own accord, and it will do so only if we stop thinking of the meditative state as a thing that we need to do actively. In a manner of speaking, catching yourself in the act of distraction is the true test of tranquility meditation, for what counts is not the ability to prevent thoughts or emotions from arising. This is the very essence of tranquility meditation in the context of Mahamudra. Again, the significant point is not whether meditative equipoise is present, but whether we are able to maintain awareness of our mental states. If disturbing thoughts do arise, as they certainly will, we should simply recognize these thoughts and emotions as transient phenomena. For the Kagyapa, in the context of Mahamudra, Samatha by means of mindfulness of breathing is thought. Quite similar is the approach to Samatha found in Dzogchen Sem Sanskrit, Mahasanti Siddhavarga. In the Sem system, Samatha is the first of the four yogas Tib, Nalger, Wylie, Arnal Bayer, the others being Vipassana, Wylie, Lagam Fong, non-duality, Advaya, Tib, Nyam, Wylie, Knees Med, and spontaneous presence, Anabhagha or Nirabhagha, Tib, Lundrub, Wylie, Lundgrub. These parallel the four yogas of Mahamudra. Ajahn Amaro, a longtime student in the Thai forest Theravada tradition of Ajahn Chah, has also trained in the Dzogchen Sem Samatha approach under Tsakni Rinpoche. He found similarities in the approaches of the two traditions to Samatha. Relationship with Vipassana. Dzogchen Ponlop Rinpoche clearly charts the developmental relationship of the practices of Samatha and Vipassana. The ways these two aspects of meditation are practiced is that one begins with the practice of shamatha. On the basis of that, it becomes possible to practice vipassana or lagthong. Through one's practice of vipassana being based on and carried on in the midst of shamatha, one eventually ends up practicing a unification yuganana of shamatha and vipassana. The unification leads to a very clear and direct experience of the nature of all things. This brings one very close to what is called the absolute truth. Similar practices in other religions. Meditations from other religious traditions may also be recognized as samatha meditation that differ in the focus of concentration. In this sense, samatha is not a strictly Buddhist meditation. Samatha in its single-pointed focus and concentration of mind is cognate with the sixth limb of Astanga Yoga, Raja Yoga, which is concentration dharana. For further discussion, see the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali,